It is finally here, Mountaineer Nation. Praise the Lord. Week 1, opening day for our beloved West Virginia Mountaineers. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Carson Fox for another edition of Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports, and we are previewing the start of the 2025 football season. Our beloved Mountaineers at home, Milan Puskar Stadium in Morgantown, West Virginia, hosting the Robert Morris Colonials at the FCS level, a 2 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. If you're not attending this game in person, you can watch on ESPN Plus. And I'm excited today, not only because we're going to get to talk West Virginia football. It is my little girl's 1 year and birthday. So this time a year ago, I was in a hospital awaiting kickoff of the Penn State matchup. So, man, it is just taking me back. And now, all the way come full circle, we're talking about a whole differently entirely program. So, very amped for this show tonight. Betting odds for this one, according to FanDuel, because ESPN Bet didn't have it, which I usually give you, 38.5. The point spread for the Mountaineers. Over-under set at 55.5. ESPN's matchup predictor gives West Virginia a 99% chance of winning this game. Usually, if you're the first time ever tuning into one of my preview shows for football, I like to go through up some matchup history, talk about the weather, injuries, what's on the line for both teams, talk about what to watch for when West Virginia has the ball, what to watch for when RMU, in this case, has the ball. Talk about special teams, 3 keys to victory, get you out with a prediction on that. So let's just start it off real quick. Hold on, as it looked like my recording program was about to quit on me there. But anyway, so matchup history for you. There is none between West Virginia and RMU. And that's the case. If there's no matchup history, I give you a brief synopsis of history on the program that we're playing. So you might not be familiar. Who the heck are the Robert Morris Colonials? So located just 15 minutes northwest of the city of Pittsburgh, Robert Morris University is just 79 miles, an hour and a half drive up Interstate 79 from Morgantown to Moon Township, Pennsylvania, located right next to Pittsburgh International Airport if you've ever been up that way. While Robert Morris University has been around since 1921, its football program is relatively new, only established in 1994. In 1996, the Colonials joined the Northeast Conference of the FCS level, joining a contingent of schools predominantly in New York, New Jersey, and New England area. To still have a season in 2020 during COVID, RMU jumped to the Big South Conference, where they stayed until last season, rejoining the NEC and finishing with a 7-5 record. A near 500 program for about 30-plus years now. RMU has won 6 NEC titles, but has only qualified for the FCS National Playoffs once, back all the way in 2010 when they lost 43-17 to North Dakota State. Now, the Colonials are head coached by Bernard Clark Jr., who has faced West Virginia twice in his 27-year coaching tenure, 2006 while serving as the defensive line coach for South Florida, in 2010 while serving as the linebackers coach at Pitt. In his 8th season, has new coordinators for this upcoming year, been at RMU since 2018, amassing just a 24-46 record, so not the most successful of tenure for a Robert Morris program that is, we used to a decade ago trying to compete for conference championships. So taking a look at the weather, moving on, it's going to be absolutely perfect. Sunny, partly cloudy, high of 75 degrees. If you've opened many home opening games like I have, you never know what to expect. You might be grilling on the Milan Puskar Stadium bleachers in 90-degree heat, dousing yourself in ice as best as possible to stay cool. I think the last couple of years we've seen rain delays, delayed because of thunder, so it's always crazy, but it seems like it's going to be a picturesque, beautiful day for anyone who attends in person. So what's on the line for both teams? RMU's never played an FBS opponent before, or a Power 4 level program before. Scratch that. Let me clear that. Did play Utah State last year in Logan, Utah. Got beat 36-12. So they've never beaten a Power 4 opponent. This would be huge for them. I mean, just like a program shattering win to escalate them to new levels. Think of it like a Appalachian State maybe in 2007 beating Michigan. That big. So for West Virginia, obviously, and this is the theme for this game. It's the first game of the chapter of the Rich Rodriguez head coaching era. Number 2 at West Virginia. 60 wins, 2 bowl victories, 1 BCS, 4 Big East championships / co-championships, 2 Big East Coach of the Year awards, 5 All-America players, 10 players selected in the NFL draft the first go-around for Coach Rodriguez. What is in store for him and this West Virginia program this go-around? This is a fresh start, a new beginning with nearly 80 newcomers from last year's team. And I know this program is just starved. Fan base starved. So many people are just hungry to getting back to the winning ways of old. So it starts out here, week 1 at home against an FCS opponent. So got to start this one off with a victory, and I would feel a sound victory, even with all of the newcomers that are playing on this, playing within this game. So injuries, new mandate from the Big 12 is that teams have to announce an injury report. I don't feel comfortable releasing this video much later until kickoff. I just think I can't record it during the day, the work day on Fridays, to then record it Friday evenings. People are busy Friday evenings, not tuning in. So if we get an injury report on Friday as this video is releasing, I would love to include that injury information. We'll have to see if that's something that teams move up later into the week. But if it's Friday, so be it. I think we'll get those announcements during head coach Rich Rodriguez's Monday Kegler show. Like I'm so used to it being a Thursday night with Neil Brown. That I would come on shortly thereafter to record my videos, because then I kind of got all of the information that's going to be had for that upcoming week, and injuries being a part of it. So none that we can report or I can report as of this moment, but that it may be variable to change. So let's talk about what to watch for when Robert Morris has the ball, talking about the RMUO versus the West Virginia D. We can only take numbers from 2024. So RMU last year, 23 points per game, 352 yards per game. For the West Virginia D, we remember abysmal, one of the worst in the country, 32 points per game allowed, 415 yards per game allowed. What I'm watching for in this game, very simply put, team speed. That's what I think most fans want to see out of there. It's not more of that just reactionary, let the defense let the offense come to you, try to bend but not break at the last second, like Jordan Leslie would coach these teams. No, we are going to dictate terms. You will have to, offense, adjust to us. We are going to throw the kitchen sink at you. So pass rush with disguised blitzes, players in pass coverage closing on the ball immediately, the front 7 beating ball carriers to the outside, preferably behind the line of scrimmage. I think this should be quintessential what the 3-3-5 should be. All 3 levels are going to send blitzes, and West Virginia is going to get after ball carriers in the backfield, create havoc whenever RMU wants to throw. And why I think this West Virginia defense will be incredibly successful in this contest is RMU is breaking in everybody new at the skill positions, from quarterbacks to their top 2 ball carriers to their receivers. The top receiver coming back for RMU. And I think this is just a case and example of how the FCS level is just brutally getting rated by the transfer portal. It really is. I mean, I know that the transfer portal can giveth and the transfer portal can taketh in players, and they got some other D1, even from Power 4 program transfers down to RMU, but just man, oh man, their top leading receiver is their tight end. Number 83, redshirt senior, Chaz Middleton. Listen to these numbers, only caught 7 balls for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns last year, but he's the preseason all-conference tight end. Oh my goodness. Wow. Hopefully he's predominantly used as a blocker, within his just blocking is just so incredible. That's the reason why. But really, I just think that the FCS level and especially for a very mid-tier to below average program in RMU at the FCS level, just getting rated of whatever talent they had. But RMU had a ton of players who were graduate, redshirt seniors, regular seniors last year who graduated, so completely rebuilding. So with that the case, I just think to win this game, 90% of this for West Virginia's defense will just come down to clean, fundamental football. Making the first tackle, gang tackling whenever the first guy gets there, trying to force turnovers, and like I said, creating pressure, because RMU should fold like pancakes. And what I would just say, having seen this the last couple of seasons now with when West Virginia's been playing its FCS cupcake opponents, just don't in Duquesne 2 years ago and then Albany last year, just don't let Robert Morris capitalize on any chicken shit deep balls like we saw last year. That just made me nauseated. Just don't do that. And I mean, it might just come up to one point in time where quarterback is getting hit, being pressured, all those things. He throws the ball up like a, Sam Ehlinger from Texas down to a little Jordan Humphrey down in the end zone, and it just happens. But please do not, or I'm going to be cussing out my TV. So what I mean to say with that is show me something secondary. Show me. Thinking of the Karstarks at the Battle of the Bastards. Show me. I talked about in my video that released here Thursday morning, really, interested to see how true sophomores Jacob Boyce does at starting free safety. Kokora Tarnu, Derek Carter listed behind him. So that either means one of two things. Either of those two guys or both are banged up, or Jacob Boyce just really outperformed them throughout the spring, summer, and now into preseason camp. So really curious to see how he does. Jason Chambers getting the start opposite of Michael Coates Jr. at cornerback 2 over Jordan Scruggs. Got Fred Perry, a thumper at the safety position. Behind him going to be Chris Filippo, according to the depth chart. True freshman there. So very interesting blend of newcomers with guys who have multiple years worth of experience, and then Darian Lewis, guy I didn't mention in that video, but man, watching some of his tape from how he played at Akron, just everything that I just said about closing in on the ball, thumping the receiver, anyone coming across the middle, boy can hit. Not that big. I think he, kind of small on the smaller size, like we saw in Anthony Wilson for the last 2 seasons. But Anthony Wilson, team's leading tackler last year. I think he was 3rd or 4th on the team in tackles 2 seasons ago. I'd love to see that out of Darian Lewis. Just a hitter in that secondary. Hope he doesn't have to be, top 3 on the teams and leading tacklers, but just want to see guys hitting like crazy in that secondary. Don't think we're going to see Jamori Robinson in this contest, although I would love to see him. Just love to, even if it's just for, one series, a handful of snaps, just to get him loose, just to get him putting on the pads, going through the motions with the team, getting out on the field again for a couple of plays here and going against someone with an opposing uniform. Didn't practice as of Tuesday. I think that's all the last we heard about Jamori Robinson. I just think this is a bummer, not only just because I think Jamori Robinson has the potential of being West Virginia's best defensive player, most talented, all-American Conference defensive player of the year from last year. But also he is the key to unleashing, I feel like, a 4-man front for West Virginia. Could guys like Asani Redwood step up, play another defensive end kind of position? Because ultimately, my thought process is you put Jamori Robinson on one side, Eddie Kelly on the other, Eddie Vesterinen, Hammond Russell at the nose guard. There's your 4. So then you can just drop back Reed Carrico, Chase Wilson there in the middle at 2 kind of middle linebackers and go 5 safeties across. Now, so instead, Jamori Robinson not going to be on the field. Braden Siders will be the traditional bandit. And that's where I'm wondering is, still, what is the bandit position? We know what it was under Jordan Leslie. It was a guy who was going to, fake blitzing, get up to the line, show blitz, had more of that, outside contain responsibilities and pass coverage drop, but we didn't see a lot of blitzing. I feel like out of those bandits over the last 6 years. So if it's supposed to be just a weak side blitzing opposite linebacker, because you're not a 290 player like you are in Eddie Kelly. Braden Siders playing around 250, Jamori Robinson in between 250 260. Then that's light. That's a lighter defensive end. So and having seen Jamori Robinson, I think he's more of like a hand in the dirt kind of defensive end pass rusher, whereas Braden Siders might be a little upright. I don't know how, and I don't think either of them do much in pass coverage for West Virginia. So that's what I mean. They're just a free blitzer from the opposite side. That's what I want to see. How quickly, and Braden Siders, as I recounted over this summer, had a really good year. I think it was in 2022, but over the last 2 years has just dealt with injuries, fewer opportunities to get out onto the field. So is he finally healthy? Can he finally put it together? Or was that, 2022 feels like forever ago, just a one-hit wonder, and this is kind of what he is. He's a guy that can, at best, split time for West Virginia this season. Maybe Devin Grant gets in some snaps behind him. But again, West Virginia needs Jamori Robinson, just not for this contest. I don't think they need him for this contest, and I don't think they need him next week against Ohio. Now, I know Ohio right now, they're putting points on Rutgers. Parker Navarro, man, just taking it to those good old Scarlet Knights that don't deserve to be in the Big Ten and make that Big Ten money. One of the most piss-poor programs in all of college football my entire life, and they're making Big Ten money just because they're geographically located next to the city of New York. All right, I'll digress there. So that's what I'm looking really for on the defensive side of the ball. How about for West Virginia? How about you? I don't think there's anybody really that I can point to right now on this RMU offense that's like, okay, I've looked for articles, I've looked for shows like this. I just can't find them for RMU. There's no coverage really on this team. So I don't know what to expect at any of these position groups, rather than just, throwing darts at a roster and saying like, yeah, he's going to get carries or something like that. It's just basically off last year's statistics. So let's transition. Let's talk about the West Virginia side of the ball. So the West Virginia offense versus the RMU defense. West Virginia's offense, as we know, are respectable, decent, 29 points per game. 404 yards per game on 69 plays per game. That's what was the number that really surprised me over the summer. 69 plays per game. That was still a decent bit. So for the RMU defense, 20 points per game. Like I said last year, it was a 36-12 game at Utah State week 1. Did record 333 yards per game on average allowed a year ago. So decent numbers from a defensive perspective. So first and foremost, number one question, we have not had this answered from the day Rich Rodriguez was hired all the way up till now. So if it truly is the decision not being made 2 minutes before the start of the game, who is starting at quarterback? Who's trotting out there first? Is it number 8 or number 13? Nico Marchiol, Jalen Henderson. Nico Marchiol has played his tail off. He's a winner. Chronicled his journey enough, I feel like, on this channel. This is his moment. This is his opportunity, staying loyal. Former 4-star recruit. He's come in here and played behind Garrett Green and in relief mop-up duty at times. So now this is really his moment to take the reins as the starter of this program, whereas Jalen Henderson is the hungry underdog, the guy who just unfortunately suffered a traumatic injury at the end of the 2023 season that lingered through 2024, really ended his opportunity with Marcel Reese taking the job at Texas A&M. But Jalen Henderson was really coming on strong for Texas A&M before there was a head coaching change. So Henderson, the backup. Do we see does West Virginia get up so high in this game that it can afford to go to a quarterback like Max Brown? Or as Rich Rodriguez has said, even though I don't believe him whatsoever, 5 quarterbacks potentially going to play in this game. No. So let's see who's the gunslinger. And I think both of those, I think we've talked about the battle over this summer enough for this, and that go out there and execute. Go out there and execute the Rich Rodriguez system. Make your reads on your run, whether you're keeping, whether you're giving it, bubble screen, few shot plays down the field. I want to, kind of put a pin in that and come back to, but execute this offense within the system, and you're going to put up numbers. So the only way for that to happen is if West Virginia gets a push up front, and it better be superior. This better be the best push up front that West Virginia sees all season long, because it's its weakest opponent. This should not look like toddlers at a pillow fight. This should be bulldozers slamming over guys. And I'm looking across this offensive line that we got according to the depth chart. Nick Cray at left tackle, Walter Young-Bear at left guard, Landon Livingston at center, Kimo Makaneole at right guard, and at right tackle, Tykees Crawford. So all guys, 2 guys who are a part of the program last year, you would have thought that they would have become starters, even if it wasn't the mass exodus that happened because of the head coaching change. Like Nick Cray has really been groomed to take over I didn't think it would be at left tackle. I think Johnny Williams, had he not gone to Missouri, being coached up for a season and a 2, this would have been his time to take over at left tackle. But then I think right there, either at any of the either 2 guard positions that were replacing by Jaquay Hubbard, or Tomas Rimac would have been at one left guard, so it would have been Jaquay Hubbard's spot. But Cray could play multiple positions. We heard that at times from Neil Browns, but where he did get in was at guard. So now he's playing tackle, and he's a big guy. I mean, seeing some videos of him, he's huge. So I think he's ready for the task. Walter Young-Bear was West Virginia's first recruit to commit out of the transfer portal. Mahler from Tulsa. He's going to go in there, and I think it'd be a road grader up front. We'll just have to see how the season goes, how he does in pass protection. Landon Livingston, now a 4th-year player. Just like Nico Marchiol, this is his time. Go out there and prove it. Again, Brandon Yates, moved on and graduated, so it would have been either Landon Livingston's, or maybe if Kyle Altuner hadn't transferred to Virginia Tech, it would have been a battle kind of between the 2 of those guys. Livingston, a former 3-star prospect out of the state of Indiana. This is his time. At right guard, Kimo Makaneole couldn't make it on the field on offense at LSU, so switched after a few seasons of trying to break the 2 deep over defensive line, was just kind of a depth player. So too high of a level for caliber of Kimo Makaneole, but maybe he's just perfect fit for the Big 12. Perfect fit for what West Virginia needs out there to be serviceable. An older player on his last year of eligibility, going to give it all he's got. Again, came in and was here for all spring, and I think he won an award at the spring game. I can't remember off the top of my head. Like an Ironman worker in the off season. So awesome for him. Glad he's getting the start. And then Tykees Crawford, I think maybe was the one position where it was like, okay, maybe could it be Malik Agbo from Texas, Josh Isosa from Oklahoma, coming from 2 big programs. Instead, it's Crawford, a guy who, from what I read over the summer, the staff at Arkansas was rather surprised that he stayed, understanding that he wasn't going to get a lot of playing opportunities. It had nothing to do with injury last year for Arkansas. It was just simply put that they didn't think that he was good enough to play at Arkansas, and for a program that wasn't bowl eligible or anything, had a pretty downtrodden season, to come over here after not playing in 2024. I think it's just kind of in the same boat as Makaneole. Looking for an opportunity, love his size. Let's go see how both guys perform. And right next to each other, we'll have to see, is there a better push out of the left side of the line? Is there a better push out of the right side of the line? Do we even, is it even fair to judge these guys in a game against this opponent? But we'll be able to tell. We'll be able to chronicle. I think this is just a place to start. So, most important player for West Virginia in today's game, who I think is going to have a big game. Number 1, the home run hitter himself, junior running back Jaheim White. In 7 of Jaheim White's 14 career games in which he's amassed 10 or more carries, just 10 or more carries, he's reached 100-plus rushing yards. That's awesome. What a statistic. Yards per carry average did drop from his all-star freshman All-American season, where he averaged 7.7 yards per carry, but still to a respectable 5.7 yards per carry as a sophomore. But now he's going to have to take more of a workload. Career 6.6 yard per carry. He's the lead back now that C.J. Donaldson is off to Ohio State. And looking behind him with Ty Edwards, the big bruiser who is supposed to replace C.J. Donaldson, still, late to preseason camp. Early on, it's going to have to be heavy Jaheim White. Otherwise, you're going and Jalen Knighton not getting academic eligibility to play for this season. You would have thought you could count more on Jalen Knighton. You're looking in some guys who are coming up, newcomers. I'm looking at Dior Hubbard, who was a he's now a redshirt freshman, didn't play last year, or Sincere Bowers from the JUCO level, Cannon Katzer from Division II, or Clay Ash, again, who was a walk-on, who did play on some special teams, but, was a preferred walk-on. I think he played at IMG Academy or somewhere. So, let's see who it does. But back to Jaheim, I think while he's going to have his extra base hits, I'm thinking runs for 10 or more yards to get first downs. Does he have home runs in him in this contest? I think he does. I think we're going to see at least one, maybe two, where he's going, 40-plus yards to the house. And we are so accustomed and used to that out of the old regime with Pat White, Steve Slayton, Noel Devine. So can it be Marchiol, handoff to White, bam, off tackle to the house? So this is a game for him to pad some statistics. He did well with opportunities like this last year. Just then my next follow-up is who's in the batting order at running back behind Jaheim. Next point about the offense. What is the balance like run versus pass in this contest? As I've said, and traditionally looking at Rich Rodriguez head coach teams, that they're somewhere in the ballpark of right around 60% run. Sometimes that was higher, like in the case of 2005 with Pat White and Steve Slayton as freshmen, when West Virginia was running the ball around 70% of the time. So I think Coach Rod is going to want to keep this very vanilla, not going to, because he's been playing poker all summer, he's not going to want to put anything on film for Ohio, for Pitt to see in these next couple of, and the Big 12 competition too, but not want to give away the full play sheet. I think we're going to see a lot of, runs, the spread read option runs, bubble screens. But I'd like to see West Virginia still take a couple of deep shots in this game, and especially early when you can't be potentially charged with running up the score on an FCS opponent. I don't think anybody cares. You're paying them to be there. They have to play the game. But I'd like to see West Virginia take a couple of deep shots in this game. I want to see Jaden Bray get involved. I want to see Cam Vaughn get involved. I want to see who kind of gets the snap lead in the slot wide receivers positions, because we heard that was an impressive battle all summer long. Rodney Gallagher, Oran Singleton, Jared Bowie, and then Preston Fox on the outside going to be backing up Jaden Bray. Found that interesting. Does Jeff Weimer get any snaps on the field? And another guy who's on the depth chart who I like to see involved, because I was really impressed with what he did. Again, I think it was at the HBCU level or MEAC at South Carolina State. Justin Smith-Brown did it all, and he can fly. Did it on special teams. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets involved some way in special teams this season, but man, he not the biggest, only five. There's a lot of guys on this roster who are around 5'10", 5'11", 185 pounds. So it's kind of interchangeable. You're going to have to get more familiar with their body type and numbers as the season goes around. But want to see what Justin Smith-Brown does. Didn't see Christian Brown. Was it Christian Brown? Christian Hamilton. Sorry. Christian Hamilton. Didn't see him on the depth chart. So be curious to see who all we see get involved in the pass catching game. Does Grayson Barnes get involved at tight end? Again, if West Virginia's keeping it very vanilla, maybe he gets a catch. But I think we're going to see a lot of Jacob Barrick at tight end. He's the best blocker. He was Jacksonville State's best blocker last year, so I think he's going to be used heavily in that ground game. Grayson Barnes last year for Northern Illinois, 31 catches, 338 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and that's about as best as a tight end has ever produced for a Rich Rodriguez head coach teams. It was like I said, Bryce Valemva. Back in like 2010 for Arizona was the most productive from a receiving standpoint tight end that Rodriguez ever coached. So he likes blocking tight ends in the ground game. So I don't think that this tight end is going to be extremely heavily involved in over this season. Like, just run the numbers there. That's about 2 catches per game, maybe 3 on average. So we'll see. Be interesting. For RMU, just to talk about them for a second, top 2 leading tacklers from this game for a year ago who made up 225, 23.5 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks are now gone. They're top 2 leaders in interceptions and pass breakups with 6 and 21, respectively, gone. So RMU's completely, they're replacing the offense, they're replacing the defense. I don't know what they're going to do in this contest. So let's move on to special teams, where at least there is something to talk about the Colonials. I can't believe, usually in my videos, I'm a little more, being able to talk about both sides, not only West Virginia, but talk about the opponent too. But there's really nothing I can say about this team. So for West Virginia in the kicking game, I love to talk and emphasize special teams because it is the third phase of the game that we cannot forget about. So kicking, going to be redshirt senior Cade Hensley, 16 for 19 last year at Coastal Carolina with a long of 49. He was impressively 5 of 6 from 40 to 49 yards and made all of his extra points for the season. So love to see him. I think it's going to be a lot of extra points in this contest, not truly field goals, but if he gets the opportunity, love to see him knock him back because of how consistent Michael Hayes was for this program for 2 seasons. Just Mr. Automatic from inside 40. So on the opposite side of the ball, this, again, shows how bad this conference that Robert Morris is in. Redshirt senior Jason Jenkins was all NEC. 6 of 10 last year with a long of 45, and he wasn't very good from 40 plus. So that's what we'll see out of RMU. Kicking the ball, punting. I got nothing for you on RMU. Last year's punter, Stephen Ernest, transferred. He was pretty good. 61 punts, 41 yards per punt average with a long of 59. There could be one of 3 guys who do the punting, and whoever does the punting for RMU, I think is going to be busy in this contest. Any of the 3, maybe we get all 3 involved. On the opposite side for West Virginia, we might not see him in this contest, but maybe we will on one occasion. Senior Ollie Straw, now in his 4th year starting for this program, been awesome. 126 career punts for an average of 43 yards per punt with 52 down inside the opponent's 20-yard line. He's awesome. At kickoff returns, Preston Fox was excellent last year, as I've chronicled on my shows over the offseason. 11 returns, 304 yards. If he would have just had one more return, according to the way that NCAA calculates the leaders, if he'd had one more return, he'd have been 6th in the country at 27.6 yards per return. He was excellent, listed alongside him, so I'm curious if West Virginia decides to keep 2 back there, or like we saw at times last year with Traylon Ray, the single guy, the furthest back on kick return. If it's just Preston Fox there, we see both, was Jared Bowie. Now, Bowie did not have a return last year at Jacksonville State, so that's where I'm kind of curious, or it's just he's really fast, so get him out on the field any way possible. For RMU, Trinell Ridgely, Rob Carter Jr. handled 24 of RMU's 29 kickoff returns for the year last year, but senior cornerback number 24 Robert Dickerson did have a 20-yard return versus Duquesne last year. That was RMU's biggest game of the season. So wouldn't be surprised if Dickerson is either one of two Colonials back there returning kickoffs. And again, they might only have one opportunity for that on the day, either at kickoff or at halftime. So RMU's punt return, Oh well, now you know what they'll get a lot because West Virginia's. Excuse me, take that back. I guess kick off, not kick return, because West Virginia is going to be doing a lot of scoring in this contest. Punt return, totally expected this. Preston Fox, again, 13 returns for 105 yards on the season last year. His 8 yards per return average would have been top 25 in the country. Again, with one more return for the season, just needed that. Little surprised not to see Rodney Gallagher there at the second string. I just really think that's a place that he could make an impact for this program. Again, if he's a rotational piece at a slot receiver, would like to see his skills get utilized more on special teams. That's just me. That's how I feel. RMU punt return. I think we're pretty set in who we're going to see here. Last year, junior defensive back Tassine Howard had 20 returns for 138 yards on the season. So a 7-yard return. Did have a 43-yard punt return last season. Didn't go for a touchdown, but that's the most impressive thing that I've seen out of this RMU team from 2024. I don't know how they went 7-5. But I think it was just a team that had a lot of seniors on it, and now they're all gone. So my 3 keys to victory now, 36 minutes in, going to be pretty simple. This is something I feel like that you can kind of take for granted in games where there's a little more known and understood, and we can break down the opponent more, a better opponent as well. But what I'll say, first game, just like an NFL preseason game is how I've compared it in my prediction show. Don't let the procedural stuff, missed assignments, or mental mistakes bog you down to where that's the storyline of this contest. Not how impressively West Virginia looked. Let this be, your dress rehearsal where you look really, really good, ready for the show, but you just have, 5 or fewer. If we're talking about, one false start here or there, or just, one missed assignment that leads to just something where it's like that'll get cleaned up. By next week, definitely by week 3 against Pitt. Let this look really good, but not so good that it. I don't think we can expect perfection again with so many newcomers to this team, but don't make it look so sloppy like you haven't been working your ass off all spring, all summer. I think this is what these players want to go out there, and they want to show how hard they've worked. And they deserve to. They deserve the opportunity to go out there and prove it on the field, run up the score as much as they want to, take names, take heads, be physical, hit somebody with a different jersey, take all of your, anger, frustration, everything of that's been pent up and built up, and you've been working again so hard all over the summer that now this is your reward. This is where you get to go crack somebody on, I wish I could say national television, but it's streaming, but you can go out there and show off your abilities. This is really what this is. This is a show-off performance for West Virginia. So, second point for 3 keys to victory, show you are the faster, more physical team. Believe that, and I think the effort will be there. It's the first game at home, beautiful day, weak opponent. I think there's been a high level of internal competition among the players, because again, every position was open, for a starting perspective. So I think the competition between the first string to second string to third string, etc. So again, go out there and show it, especially on the lines, because RMU will not touch you. Go out there and just crush them on the offensive and defensive lines and prove it. So then, third point, I think we should hopefully see, and we will see big first and second quarter plays to knock RMU out early. Because if you want to say play 5 quarterbacks, Rich Rodriguez, you have to be up comfortably. And there's not a lot of time. I mean, you wish you could do those things, but you have, one longer drive or one, or the opponent uses up a lot of the play clock, even, on a 3 and out, or they do pick up a first down. It's like you'd love to rack up, 100 plays, 150 plays maybe on this opponent, but you're not going to be able to do so. So if you only get like West Virginia average last year, 70 plays in this contest, if you're, how many of those are you going to try and break in all of your quarterbacks, or as many as you can, as many of your running backs as you can? So if you can win with some big plays and then get up comfortably, you can afford to be able to do that. Because then if you give up a chunk play or you give up a score here and there, it doesn't necessarily change anything because you're up multiple touchdowns. So that's what I mean. Go out there, punch RMU in the mouth up early. That's where I think one of those home runs from Jaheim, or two from Jaheim White, are going to play a heavy role in this game. I think we're going to see a big long run from a quarterback too. I think we're going to see both have impressive long scores on the ground, and then maybe hopefully a bomb or two down to Cam Vaughn. So prediction, and I'll get you out on this. I'm going to say, because for my prediction show that I did this past week, I think I gave the score 38-10, something like that. I'll be honest with you, that was before I did very much research into RMU. They weren't featured in the Lindy's mag over the summer. Didn't really read much up on RMU. And again, there's not much to consume media content-wise on this program, so I don't really know much of anything about them. So I said 38-10, just kind of feeling comfortable. And that's kind of right around the window for I think West Virginia's going to score. Somewhere right around where the spread is. So 38.5 points. I said 38. 38. I think it might be more. Now I'm going to push the envelope a little more that I've dug into this RMU team. I think it's going to be 42-0. I don't think they're going to score. I don't think they have the capability to score with what they have back offensively. Again, how impressed I feel like West Virginia did on paper in the transfer portal, and going out there and getting some studs to plug and play and fill in at some of these holes. Now, hopefully Justin Harrington and Jamori Robinson get on the field sooner rather than later, because I do think they play, especially in Robinson's case, a big role for this season. So defense going to close out and come up with a shutout in this contest against a really bad opponent. And then the offense, I think that's kind of what they can score with the pacing. Go back to that game against Cincinnati in 2023. West Virginia scored 42 points. Thinking how that team scored that day, that's what I think West Virginia can do in this one. So, we might see somewhere of around 28-0 in the first half, and then West Virginia scores, once in the third quarter, or maybe twice in the third quarter and none in the fourth quarter. I don't know, but I'm going to say about 42-0. I think I could potentially even be more aggressive, and I'm being a little conservative, thinking that maybe they could score 49. If this were any more than 80 newcomers and everybody's trying to figure out new positions, new system, new everything, I think if they played RMU of this same ilk next year with all the players that West Virginia will be having coming back second year in Rich Rodriguez's system, we'd be talking something like 70-0, like Lincoln Riley-led Oklahoma teams did to FCS opponents back in the day. But I'll just scale back on that. So love to know your thoughts. How are you feeling about this contest? You excited? You go into this game? Please let me know in the comments. Love to hear how you're feeling about this. I'm excited to bring this one to you, and if you've liked this video, please like it so more Mountaineer fans can see it across YouTube. And tell me about a friend. If you're talking to anybody in the blue lot or any of the parking lots, I'm hopefully going to be there for the backyard brawl, so would love to see you over in the green lot, where my family usually participates in the tailgating. But not going to be there on Saturday because of my little girl having her first birthday, doing a first birthday party for her. So hopefully I can watch, maybe from the party, put the game on ESPN Plus, or going to watch the replay or something like that. So would love to know if you're going to this game, and then if you can, comment with your feedback on the post-game show, which I'll bring to you Sunday. Like to kind of marinate on the games for about 24 hours, win or lose, not to be overreactionary one way or another, analyze the statistics, go back and maybe watch a few things to then bring you a post-game show on Sunday. So please subscribe to my channel. Would love to have you as a regular follower to my programs each and every week with this game, with these games as the season goes along. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog. I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun doing it. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go drink some beers and spot the dang ball, baby. 2025 season. Let's go.